Possible return of an old friend, and we're talking a little bit of Kirk Cousins versus Joe Burrow with a guy who covers the Bengals here on the Locked On Vikings podcast.
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, your pal, and the kid you copied off in math class. My name is Luke Braun. You can find me on Twitter at LukeBraunNFL. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On Vikings. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day, every single day. Today on the show, we will talk about a possible Kyle Rudolph return. The rumors are heating up. And also, I'm going to spend most of the show talking about an interesting thought that I had about Kirk Cousins, and it involves Joe Burrow and comparing the two, not ranking the two, not trying to argue over who's better, but just sort of drawing the distinctions and what we can learn from that and become more informed watchers of the sport. It was a cool conversation with Mike Santagata of, he does a lot on Locked On Bengals, and he covers the Bengals for Sports Illustrated as well. So we're going to talk to him. But first, let's talk about Kyle Rudolph. So on Thursday, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported that Kyle Rudolph is not retiring, he's not done, and he has talked to both the Bucs and the Vikings about a possible return. The Bucs make a lot of sense, right? They just lost Rob Gronkowski, and they need a new kind of a new person to fill the role of a reasonably versatile tight end that can still catch and run routes, but is mostly a blocker. They need that. That's a great fit, I think. But also here in Minnesota, I think with the way the offense has been put together, I don't think Kyle Rudolph is as good a fit here as he is as he would be in Tampa Bay. But, well, the odds of this are still very up in the air. For one, Jeremy Fowler didn't say it's happening, didn't say that he's like, there's been a couple conversations and there's multiple suitors. These two teams are just two of them. So we're not even down to the final two or anything like that. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. But the way I like to do it on this show is, okay, this is a possibility. Let's see what we think of if they should do it. Do we want this? But I'm definitely not the guy to tell you the odds for it. You're going to have to go to the beat reporters for that. But I don't know. It's probably going to be like the minimum, right? So like, who cares? And he's not going to start over Irv Smith or anything like that. He would be probably competing with like Johnny Munt and Nick Muse and whoever else for backup roles. But the tight end depth is a little sketch. So I favor grabbing any tight end, honestly. I wanted them to draft one higher than Nick Muse. So yeah, of course, I think they should still be in the market for any tight end. And sure, if it's Kyle Rudolph, there's an emotional thing that I just say like, yeah. Okay, yep, do it. Great, love it, sure, don't care. Like I'm just gonna be a sucker for that. Like everybody put on your Rudolph jerseys and go to the games, and now he's playing for the team again, and that makes us all happy, and that's fine. So from like a fan perspective, like let your feelings take you. I don't care. But from a pure football, is this the right move perspective? As long as you're not shelling out $6 million for this dude to come play tight end 2 for you, like the cost that it probably will have is going to be totally something they can stomach. So that's fine. I think he's still a pretty good blocker. I think he's going to be a good red zone target until his body can't move anymore. He'll always be a good red zone target, and that does not rely on the youthful athleticism that he used to have that has now obviously left him. He just needs to be big and go catch. He's great at that, and he could do that till he's 40, right, if his body holds up. So I think that'd be great, right? Go do 12 personnel in the red zone, and you got Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph, and we just talked earlier in the week about Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen in the red zone, or yesterday, right, about Thielen and Jefferson in the red zone and how scary that is. Yeah, get Kyle Rudolph running fade routes like he did against the Saints in the 2019 playoffs, right? Great, perfect, love it. So I'm for it, sure. There's no way this costs enough for me to not be for it. That's going to be my take, I guess. So let me now move on to the conversation with Mike about Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins. It was a really cool conversation because we weren't trying to just argue over who's better or what's better. We were just sort of going back and forth on the differences, just the different styles. But first, let me talk to you about gambling. If you want to bet on, say, Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson, over-unders. We talked about those yesterday. You can hear my analysis there. You can bet on win totals. You can bet on any Vikings game upcoming. They've got all the spreads up, which I don't know why you'd bet on a Week 8 game now, but you can if you want. There's so much more than you could ever imagine on Bet Online. You can bet on sports going on right now, WNBA and MLB. You can bet on golf or tennis or whatever the next UFC fight is. You can bet on all that stuff, build player props, and even bet right in the middle of games. So head on over to betonline.net and get yourself a Gramble. And that's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, hope y'all are ready to talk quarterbacks. I'm here with Mike Santagata, from frequent contributor to Locked On Bengals and also a Sports Illustrated contributor writing about the Bengals. Sports Illustrated contributor writing about the Bengals. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Luke?
Good. Are you ready to tell me about Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
All right.
I studied up.
Are you familiar with Joe Burrow?
A little.
Okay. So this came up because of a tweet that I came across last week that was essentially making the point. It was people were trying to compare Kirk Cousins to Joe Burrow because of some QB rankings. I don't care. Like who's above. I couldn't care less. But the interesting thing to me was somebody saying, well, how can you have Joe Burrow above Kirk Cousins? His pocket presence is supposed to be so good. Why does he take so many sacks? And I think the answer to that question is super interesting, and there's a lot we can learn from it. So let me just pose that question to you point blank. Joe Burrow took a lot of sacks. He is also famous for how he works the pocket. What gives, bruh?
Yeah, so like the too long, I don't want to watch the rest of this segment is basically that he's just a big game hunter is the big thing about it is
yeah, a little greedy.
Instead of seeing the underneath thing and just I'm not going to check the alert. I'm not going to, or like, I don't like the alert or whatever. I see one-on-one coverage and it's a go ball and I'm not throwing that. I'm going to throw the flat route whenever that gets out there or something like that. Instead of seeing that and then seeing the flat route, like, yeah, the flat's open, but it's 2nd and 9. Like, I don't want to make it 3rd and 8. So I'm going to try to roll out, escape this, and then try to throw the ball deep. And he has good pocket when you watch him. And I think a lot of people that watch him, I think that's the big difference with the stats about it, because the pressure's turning the sacks, and then the film of watching it, you're like, oh, he knows the pressure's there. Sometimes he a little bit overthinks his athleticism, but it happens. But most of the time he's able to avoid the sack, get out there and try to make a play. And that's really the difference, because Cousins, well, I don't think he's super unathletic, because I remember I was scouting him before week 1 last year. I was like, he's really good at
scoot,
rolling left.
Oh, he's phenomenal at throwing really on the run. Like the mechanics of him throwing like on the move are tops in the league. Like there's a lot of people who struggle with that. Like good quarterbacks, that's a hard thing to do, and that's his superpower. That's why they put him in the wide zone for his whole career. Yeah.
I specifically think rolling left because that's not your non-dominant hand, so you got to flip hips
and you're flipping your hips, and it's like smooth as butter. Yeah, that's his superpower.
Yeah, he's not like a 4-5 guy, but he's like he's got smooth hips and able to do that type of thing. But
and like in scramble situations, he's been able to do it. It's a mindset. It's the reluctance where like Joe Burrow gets a little greedy, right? And he takes himself into dangerous water, which means, hey, you might get sacked doing this, but like you said, like it's 2nd and 9. I don't want to set up a 3rd and 7 with a 2-yard pass. And I guess where I want to take this is comparing Joe Burrow to Kirk Cousins, because they are very differently styled quarterbacks. And without trying to bog ourselves down in would we rank one above the other, that's not the conversation I want to have today. I just want to compare and contrast and point out things that are different about them that can just give us, I don't know, some insight into different styles of quarterback without trying to put it on a list,
And I think part of this also starts with the age difference too, right? Like maybe if Kirk Cousins was like 2 years out of college, and I know Joe Burrow ruptured his whole knee and he still doesn't care about taking hits. It's clear.
That early 20s confidence that we all miss. That invincibility before you realize you're immortal.
Yeah, it's when you play pickup all the time, then you get back, you're like, oh shoot, I'm hurt.
Yeah, you wake up in the morning like, I can't do that anymore.
Although I think Joe Burrow is like 26. I think we're the same age, but yeah, So yeah, he still has that confidence of like, I'm not
Hmm.
getting hurt. I'm fine. I'm gonna put the team on my back. I'll take this hit. I'll run, and instead of sliding, I'll take a hit to my knee that's surgically reconstructed, and all the fans gasp. That's fine. But Kirk Cousins is, what is he,
33,
31?
I think.
33. I was,
Yeah, that's QB's prime
yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah, he's just getting up there. Brady's playing
Yep.
at like 49 or whatever he is. But
Yeah.
yeah, 33, 32, anywhere around that age, you're much more like you've been through it. And I don't know, there's a lot of I'm going to preserve the body. I'm going to preserve the body, get the ball out. And
Sure.
he's a really smart guy, so he processes it quickly. He knows what's
And you
open,
want
and
him
he
to be
throws it.
doing that. Like,
Yeah,
coach is going to say, like, don't take a hit, you idiot. We need you. Like, yeah.
it's a lot of a coach that watches Kirk Cousins is probably the entire time going, well, maybe not the entire time. Maybe they want him to take the deep shot once in a while. And he doesn't do it, but like they'll see him and they'll go, okay, I understand, or like good
Hmm.
decision. Well, I think when Zach Taylor, a lot of the time when he's watching Joe Burrow, is going, no, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the oh no's right into the roller coaster, like woo, yeah, 50-yard gain.
That description gives me shades of, and this is not a perfect comp by any stretch of the imagination, but hopefully we can be adults here. As kind of Farvey, like that. Just what are you doing? What are you? Okay, it's a touchdown, I guess. Like,
Yeah, less. It is Farvey in that he does not care about getting hit. I think it's not Farvey in the comparison. I know be adults. I don't know if that's directed at the Vikings or if that's directed at me with, yeah, Brett Favre probably has about 10 times the arm strength that Joe Burrow
well,
has.
yeah, he's got a crap load more arm strength, and also Brett Favre is way less cautious with the football. Like that was his whole thing, is that
Yeah,
he threw a million interceptions,
but
and he threw the most interceptions ever. I'm pretty sure that still stands. Um, yeah,
yeah,
like so. Of
but
course, not a 1-to-1, but
yeah,
that
mentality
mentality, that
is
kind of,
yeah,
I'm going to put the team on my back. I'm going to do what the play needs me to do, and I think there's a difference there. In Kirk Cousins is a lot more executing the script as it is written. He is not doing, like, Joe Burrow is doing the thing that I've been trying to describe a lot on this show, which is the like kind of seeing the field and the situation as a whole picture, and then making a choice within that. Where Cousins, you can give him if thens, you can give him, if safety does this, throw the hitch or whatever, and he'll execute those. He'll process it very quickly. He'll get the ball out. It'll be accurate. It'll be on time. It'll have enough velocity. He'll do everything you ask. But Cousins is it's a lot of individual thoughts in quick sequence rather than taking in an entire picture and then making a decision based on that. If that makes sense, it's okay, the one, like the first read. All right, the linebacker did that, so that means it's this, and so we're doing either the corner or the flat route because that first read brought me to smash, and now there's that, like, and it's all of those in rapid succession, but you're considering one and then you're putting it away and you're considering the next one, then you're putting it away and you're considering the next one. And that's sort of the difference. And you're going to get a lot. It's just a lot more by the book.
yeah. I think of it. I'll bring it up now. Is I think of it as the play itself could be considered like a nice baseline to to a song, and Joe Burrow's out there, and he's got a sax. He's just doing freeform
Yeah.
jazz.
Freeform jazz.
He's just staying on the bass line,
I
the
knew you were going to bring up
beats.
jazz.
I was gonna bring it up no matter what, but he's playing freeform jazz out there, throwing balls, hitting the solos to Jamar Chase. Kirk Cousins a bit more, he's not going jazz. He's more like a concert saxophonist. So he's like,
Concert
I have to play
pianist.
this
Like,
concert
it's,
pianist.
there's,
Kirk
it's
Cousins.
complex. There's a lot of sheet music. Like, the sheet music is complex and it's difficult to play, and he's executing it, but you are not going off book.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear him play the piano solo the same way they want to see Joe Burrow play the sax solo.
Yeah.
So you want him to improv a little more probably, but that's what we think is just the improv out of structure stuff. It's just kind of like he just kind of does his own thing, but it's still in the
Mhm.
rhythm of the offense and things like that.
Yeah, there's a method to the madness. I want to get deeper in the weeds with you, because it's July and we can, about like reads and quarterback stuff, and been talking a lot about like what goes into a quarterback decision. So, Sans, stick around. We're going to keep doing that. Back with Mike in just a little bit. But first, let me talk to you about Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and their flavors are growing more and more degenerate and criminal by the day. But right now, it's the king. Coconut brownie chunk. I'm not even a coconut guy, and I admit this is the GOAT. This is the number one. So go to built.com and get it. It's coconut. They even have a like fluffy coconut filling and then chunks of brownie in there, all covered in 100% chocolate, like anything you get at built.com. It's awesome. And it's low calorie, low sugar, high protein, absolutely delicious. So head on over to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15, and get 15% off of your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 at built.com. All right, we're here with Mike Santagata.
Nailed it.
I nailed it. All right, cool. 2 for 2. Talking about Kirk Cousins versus Joe Burrow. And we're not having the who's better conversation. In some situations, you don't want Joe Burrow to run out and get hit. You're going to have a more durable quarterback Cousins way. But then, when it's 3rd and 14, maybe there's situations. Who cares? Who cares who's better? Who cares about rankings? If you're dying for the quarterback ranking, you're not going to get one. All right. But I do want to go deep into the weeds and talk about, because the Bengals are a pretty good allegory to where the Vikings are right now. They just took a McVay disciple, a relatively unknown one that hadn't been with McVay for a long time, plucked him off of the offensive staff, and now they're essentially trying to replicate the McVay thing. That's the track the Bengals have been on for the last 3 years, and lo and behold, they made it to a Super Bowl. So I want to go a little deeper in the weeds and kind of look and see, is this a roadmap for the Vikings? And can it be a roadmap without them switching quarterbacks, or do they have to? That's kind of like, and I'm talking long term, like next 3 years. Cousins is only under contract for 2 more. So, I guess tell me about the general structure of how the offense, like what the offense does to maximize Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so that's going to start, and I think that Zach Taylor, he is a McVay disciple, but he had to do soul searching in Cincinnati. Like those 2 first years where they were crap, that was a lot of what works, and then the first year was basically like, I am Sean McVay Jr. I'm going to run I'm going to run Yankee and Leak and
outside zone and
outside zone. And it was terrible. They won 2 games or 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 games. And so then the next year they get Joe Burrow. And this is, one quality about, I think probably at this point median, but it is a good coaching quality, is just you adapt to the talent around you. I think a lot of coaches do this now. It used to probably be a little bit less, that's why
less than I would hope. There's still a lot of you're going to run my scheme kind of stuff,
but not as bad as like 2001, where it's like, well, if that guy's in a spread offense, we can't have him here.
Yeah.
So they adapt to the quarterback. So now they're running a lot of New Orleans Saints, LSU spread type stuff. But at his heart, he still has a bit of this McVay stuff in there. So it becomes this amalgamation of everything by the end of it. By the Super Bowl, they're getting under center and they can run wide zone, although they're more spread out than McVay. They've completely abandoned the idea of being condensed and making the wide receivers block.
Well, they're like team empty, right?
Yeah, well, a bit, although that gets them killed sometimes, so they get out of it.
Yeah.
They are very spread, team empty, 3x2 empty, all that stuff. So I think O'Connell, and he's probably going to try to do McVay stuff his first year, just because it is such a feeling out. And I'm sure a first-time head coach, it's just, that's what's going to come easy to you,
that's what he did with Cousins in 2017. They were all in Washington together with McVay. So that's definitely a familiar place for everybody.
Yeah. So, and I think that's where you have to start there. The Cousins thing is, if it's working, I don't think you have to move on. That's the nice thing about Cousins. But if he can look at Cousins and let's say the team finishes worse than they expect just by either variability or maybe injuries or something like that, and you're picking a spot and you can get a guy, well, then you get the guy. I think you probably still try that. You're a new coaching staff. So why don't you get a guy that you think you could tailor everything around? Whereas Kirk Cousins, I don't know about you can't tailor everything around him, but the wide zone will take you. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, I think you kind of do want at least a little bit more of the improv, the jazz solos, those type of things, because when you have a perfectly called defensive play and they have everything covered, what's the answer for you when you are Kirk Cousins other than hitting the check down on? Because if it's 3rd and 9 and they just perfectly cover it, what's your answer? Joe Burrow,
and this will happen.
run, all that stuff. all the
Like,
time.
you're
Yeah.
not going to get through a season without having some third and longs. Like, this will happen. And those third and longs, the teams that can convert them are going to have this huge advantage versus the teams that, throw a safe 6-yard pass and trot off the field and punt. And I guess that's like at the crux of kind of what I've been saying. Like, a lot of the biggest, like, staunchest Kirk Cousins defenders all talk about, like, his surroundings weren't good enough. And, like, yeah, there were problems on the offensive line. There were problems with the play calling and all that stuff. Yeah, we all agree. Let's fix that, right? But even if you make those things good, you're going to have third and longs. You're going to have situations where it's 2nd and 9, and the option is a dangerous pass that would convert or a safer one that sets up 3rd and 7. And where you go, like, that's where I feel like Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow will take different paths. And maybe for better or worse in both of them, right? You're not going to have one of those things will not be better 10 out of 10 times. And so, yeah, like with that style of play, how far does that take you when, you're in December and January and everything's on the line and it's, 4th down and 10 or it's 2-minute drill. You need a touchdown. It's 3rd down and 10. Are you going to set up a 4th down and 7? Or are you going to try to convert something for a 4th down and 10? That's the mentality, I guess.
I would also give Kirk Cousins a little bit more credit than I think I did. I think I disparaged him a little too much. I think if you think of the guys that keep things on track that have made Super Bowls, like Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo, he's much better. So, like, if they've made Super Bowls with those things and, great surroundings, Kirk Cousins would have won those games. To me, I think if he's put in those spots, he wins those games. And then he wins a Super Bowl. So, like, it's certainly possible. I know that's a topic that probably comes up with Vikings Twitter podcast type things all the time. Is like, can you win the Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins? Yeah, and you can. You certainly can. And what I'm just saying is, can O'Connell, and I don't know, it's hard to teach old dog new tricks. He's got the athleticism a little bit. Can you get him to just open up the mentality a little bit more,
right?
Or do you need the script to work perfectly? And there is a way that you win, and the script just works because Kirk Cousins will keep the team going on script better than Joe Burrow will, I think. And if you ask me, like, under center,
for sure.
if they're trying to just, we're trying to run 4-minute offense and bleed the clock as we score this touchdown, I would probably trust Kirk Cousins to do that more. Just like he's going to get everything on time. He's going
to when you get situational, he gets real weird. It's like in all situations, but he's referred to himself as like a point guard before. Like, yeah, I'm an executor. Like, I will just get through the thing that I'm instructed to do and I'll do it, 99% exactly as you imagined it. And that's fine. And then it's when you're not in a nice, comfy situation. And I'm not talking about, having great, exciting surrounding talent. You can have that and then still be in a 2nd and 9. How do you do this to set yourself up for success? So I guess, yeah, it's O'Connell saying, and when he came in, that basically is the pitch, is him saying, I can do that. I can get Kirk Cousins to open it up. Quieted mind is the words that he's been using. I quarterback with a quieted mind, where not only am I helping him feel a little more comfortable and trying to, execute a system that's going to give him more opportunities than whatever Clint Kubiak was trying to run out of the dusty, like, coffee stained pages of his dad's playbook he could steal out of the back of his car. But, like, so it should be better opportunities and all that, but also helping him, like, feel protected and helping him, and not only be protected, but, like, feel protected. You don't want him to start to, rush his process just because there's only 5 men in protection. And gosh, I'm so used to getting sacked when it's a 5-man,
Yeah.
like actually helping him feel protected. And maybe that does mean extra men in protection or something, but some of that is just like a mentality and making him feel, okay, you're getting beat up. All right, we're just going like 7 across every time now.
Yeah, I think it's just you have to make him feel comfortable enough that he opens up a bit more and he could just open up that improvisational type thing. Because, like I said, he's got the athleticism to do it. Like, we talked about rolling left, rolling right. He could throw on the run. He could do all that. I don't know how he is escaping sacks. Whatever, just don't get touched.
Yeah, right.
Just run out.
He's not. Yeah, and his move is not like, he's got some highlights where he's done it, but he's not a frequent, like, work the pocket, find the space, the beanbag drill. Like, that's what you see, like, on Joe Burrow's highlight reel, is that he stays in the pocket, but he works it and he evades and stuff like that.
He Cousins, also do the very dramatic, spinning out, juking, roll, like very
Sure.
dramatic escaping of the pocket too. I don't know.
The
It's
Houdini
everything.
stuff,
Yeah, the Houdini stuff too.
Yeah, but you get with Cousins, it's a lot more either. I mean, if pressure is coming for him, it's he's firing it. Like he just gets rid of it. It's the Drew Brees school of thought. Somebody's coming, it's just the ball's gone. You can't touch me. Drawn some roughings that way too. So look, God, we could have this conversation for like an hour because I think this is interesting. Just that improvisational stuff when it's appropriate and when it, we sort of centered the conversation on it being a good thing when Joe Burrow does it and not a good thing when Kirk Cousins doesn't do it. But there's lots of situations where it's the other way. We could talk about all that and stuff. But instead, Mike, just tell the people where they can find you. Everybody should be following you and all your work and your writing and stuff. So go plug it.
Yeah, it's mostly just follow my Twitter. I promote just about everything there at Bengals_Sands. But yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of off-season content now, offensive line highlights, whatever else is going on in life. But then season starts. If you want to keep up, Bengals should be exciting. So there'll probably be exciting highlights to look at.
Defending AFC champion Bengals, baby. All right, Mike, thank you so much. Thanks again to Mike for giving us the time, talk a little Joe Burrow and stuff. He's great. Seriously, go follow him. His work is awesome. You'll learn about the game. I will see you all next week. And as always, Skull.